It is December the 6th, 2025. I'm Chris, and this is the future of photography.
The future of photography.
Yay, I'm back. Hello, Adrian.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I've been traveling, been doing family things, and I've been to the Black Forest for a week.
Oh,
To the Black
wow.
Forest and the Alsace with a client. And we did photography.
See, the Black Forest, as a kid in England, is one of the first places in Germany you learn about if you're a certain age, because there's this wonderful type of cake we get here called Black Forest Gatto.
That's
and I knew
true.
nothing
One of my
about
favorites, black and white.
I knew nothing
beautiful.
about Germany, but as a kid in the 80s, when somebody gave me a big slice of chocolate and cream and cherries and jam and stuff like that, all in cake form, I was like, yeah, I quite like Germany. I'd like to go there one day.
I will just say,
Go ahead, Jeremiah.
I will just say that as a committed gin drinker, Monkey 47, which is originates within the Black Forest and all its terroir, is the finest gin in the universe. So
I'm just wondering, has any one of the two of you has anyone been to the Black Forest and had Black Forest cherry cake there?
With a
Because
gin.
my client,
Sadly not.
my client was from Canada. We had to go to get a big slice of Black Forest cherry cake, and he was very surprised because it was nothing like the one he knew from home.
Ah, interesting.
He said it was better. Anyway, this is photography, and we did. I took a picture of the cake as well. Not going to show it here though, because it was just a snapshot. Speaking of snapshots, does any of you have a style when it comes to photography? Jeremiah, you're probably the most prolific artist of the three of us, and you've had a long career in different visual arts. Would you say you have a style?
No. No and yes. And I think this will be good to precipitate the discussion. My belief is that style emerges out of the subject and the intention at the moment, and the development of a specific application of a visual language to everything, which one could say is a style, often is a repetitive ditch which one can fall into easily, like making the same painting over and over and over again. And this could be good for the market because people want to own a piece of that style, but for the development of an artist, not so good. For example, when you speak to a cinematographer who is coming onto a movie, that one may be directing. The discussion is generally about the feeling, the tone, the manifestation of the idea visually, etc., and the style that the dance between the cinematographer and the director, and of course the art director and the production designer, etc., becomes part of the language that emerges out of the story. And I would apply that immediately to walking around pictures. My own work, which has many different styles, but a unity of styles through a specific folio. In other words, I apply a style to best bring out what is in the subject that I'm doing that has to do with how I see it. But photographing a object in a studio, as opposed to a landscape in, let's say, black and white, would precipitate a very different kind of language, visual language in one's head to apply to that. So if I applied the same thinking to a landscape that I do to a studio shot, I think I would not benefit either. So I do believe that you can develop a style of seeing, which is a much more nuanced, emotional point of view in terms of how you interpolate image to object or visual on the screen. And that becomes a really interesting approach. And so I don't believe in having one style for everything is the best way to approach photography.
Yeah, the reason I brought this topic with me today is because I stumbled upon this idea of style not being something you construct, you build, you develop, but more something that you already have. You just don't really know yet. So that's why I came up with this style archaeology kind of metaphor where you would go through your archive and see if there are any unconscious things, any patterns that you could find. Are you I don't know, do you tend to shoot pictures of people from the distance, giving them lots of space to breathe? Do you, I don't know, are your horizons crooked in a specific way? Just things, and this I believe this could even go down to things like, are you a morning person? What's your chronotype? Because a morning person would certainly shoot different subjects more often than an evening person, a night owl.
Sure, in a more tired way.
Or are you more of an introvert? So would you maybe even use more of a telephoto lens to shoot pictures of people because you want to be at a distance? Or are you more the extrovert, more the aggressive type? You put your wide angle on, you go right in and be rather too close to people. That's just some thinking I'm going through right now.
I think that is a very astute way to approach style, which is from the emotional point of view, another physical, emotional.
Or in short, would you rather take the pictures? Would you rather take pictures in the style of who you are, or in the style of who you want to be? Is it possible to fake style? Is it possible to build a style that is not you?
Yes, it is possible mathematically, as we know.
How much energy do you have to hold on to that?
I think it's there's a lot in what you say, Chris, that resonates for me. Possibly less far into my journey than Jeremiah in terms of number of years of practice
and by the way,
in photography, because I came to it late. But.
Just a very brief interruption. This comes all from the notion of you as a photographer, you must find your style. That's what has been told to people for so long. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. It's good. So it took me the thick end of 15 years from when I first got interested in photography to a point where I felt comfortable that I knew what my style was. And maybe, if I continue, maybe I'll end up like Jeremiah with multiple styles at my command. Which would be an interesting place to get to. And I tried lots of things along the way, but I think for me, what I found, there was a big difference between look and style. I could create a look. I could recreate somebody else's look. I could play with looks. Whether I'm just going to shoot at f1.4, in a cinematic aspect ratio, a very wide aspect ratio, and that's going to be my style. That actually I found in the end was more of a look than a style, just a small number of years ago, I did something maybe similar to what you're describing, Chris, which is just look back and think, well, what are my photographs are my favourite I've ever taken? And it turned out that they were really dynamic, lots of movement. They were not technically correct in any way. I'd played with them and broken some pixels and added some colour, or I'd gone for almost indistinguishable grainy black and white, and maybe there was an image in there somewhere, right? And I found that I was far more comfortable with the idea of trying to capture the emotions, how it felt to be there at that time and what was going on. How am I capturing the energy of something rather than what something looked like, right? And for me, that meant that the look suddenly became a secondary consideration, over what I was actually trying to capture. And I found some inner peace at that point, I have to say. And, it's there was definitely a step forward for me in the way that I saw photography, in the way that I practiced photography after that. So yeah, a lot of what you say, Chris, resonates for me, especially the going back bit. And I'll add a dimension, if I may,
Of course.
which is the dimension of doing that with the point of view of, I'm going to share something, I'm going to publish something, not in a social media kind of a way, but in a, actually, I think this is, there's some work here I'd like to share. I'd like to have my name against it, maybe on my own website or in some print media or something like that.
I would say that, a lot of style may also have to do with how you see things. Like I notice what Chris was saying, if you go back to your archive and look, there is a common thread of my landscape pictures that I really noticed over the years. I am very drawn to vanishing points. Extremely drawn to vanishing points. This is not a breakthrough in any way possible, but that always compels me to take a picture. And now I shall feed my dog.
Go ahead, do that. So yeah.
Chris, tell me what's your angle into this? What's your what's your journey been? What's your thoughts on your own style?
Well, the thing is, I've been. Let me mute Jeremiah for a second here.
Probably best.
Here we go. My own style, it manifests itself in several things, including how I tend to show the size relation between things by including a big. I find this over and over: a big mountain wall and a tiny person next to it. Something that shows the size of things. I like to show size of things, especially things that are hard to judge from just looking at them. I tend to reduce the color palette. I tend to shoot even monochromish pictures. Last week, second last week, when I was in the Black Forest, it was really, really fun to see the photos that came out of a snowed-in fir tree forest, which instantly turned monochrome. I now officially rename the Black Forest into the Black and White Forest, because that's what it looks like on color photos. So that's the kind of things I find. I find that I tend to favor, with photo sessions where I take portraits, pictures of people. I tend to favor the pictures where people have their guard down, where they are themselves. The in between photos, in between poses, in between. Commanding them to do something on a picture. So that's the thing. But my main realization was I don't have to come up with a style. It's there. It is. I already have one, or multiple. But I already have the DNA is there if I look at my archive.
So what do you do with that information? So, how has it influenced your practice of photography with that insight that you have now?
Well, it's just, first of all, it has put me at ease. It has put me at
confidence.
Made me more relaxed. It's a confidence thing, exactly. Because now I don't really find like I need to be searching for something, because I know that it emerges just by itself. Also, I kind of see the camera being more of a personality test now. I mean, if you look at your archive, you can instantly see what type of person you are, how you approach other people. It's very revealing. So
yeah, it is.
It's fun. It's fun.
By the way,
really
there's a book in there.
There will be a book in there, I'm sure.
There's a book in there. Maybe we'll collaborate. I'm very interested in that, because I do believe that art is anything that an artist creates. So if you're an artist and you're creating something, that's art. Now, it may be bad art, right? It may be nothing, but it is in terms of personality, intention, skill, whatever remains of
And
it over the years.
and the thing that also did with me is that I understood that my assignment is not to become a specific photographer or to become a different photographer, but to recognize who I've always been. And it also, interesting enough, it gave me permission to copy my heroes. Like you do copy other photographers, the style. You try something out. You want to be more like this and that photographer, which for a while, at least for me, has been something that I chased for, and now it's more like okay, let me turn this into like an exercise kind of thing. I don't have to be that photographer. I don't want to be that photographer anymore because I know that I am myself. But then I'm kind of trying to maybe even reinterpret other photographers by looking at what they do through my own glasses, so to speak.
Very interesting. It's very interesting. It's because it gives you a freedom, I guess, to do that. That's an interesting thought. Question for you. Oh, sorry, Jeremiah, go ahead.
I was going to say, often copying a style of another photographer or artist allows you a way, as Chris was saying, into their sense of understanding. It may not be the same at the end of the day, but it's a pathway to understand more of who you are or the differences or similarities. And so that becomes a very educational, self-aware kind of process.
It's also just in general a good technical exercise to try different things, of course. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. The other thing that it helped me is to manage my energy better, because it takes energy to try to be someone that you are not. So just by understanding better who I am, what I want from photography, how I approach it, and kind of keeping that within the bounds of my energy framework is freeing. It helps me be able to do different things and do them better. It doesn't mean I don't want to try other things. I mean, for example, I'm a night owl. Getting me up at 6 a.m., at 5 a.m., at 4 a.m. is hard. I've done that with groups, which, if I'm with a photography group, easy, but still not my favorite. Getting up in Canyonlands National Park at 5 a.m. to shoot the sunrise. I got some really interesting and great photos out of that, of course. But those then are kind of the let's say in air quotes, blemishes in my style sheet, because they stick out. They are different. They are not frequent. They are just there to maybe set an accent of some sort.
I think I've had experiences a bit like that, but are on a longer arc of time, because I think when I did go back and look at all my archive and think, what photographs do I like the best, a great many of them were from my very early days before I knew anything about photography. I think I went through a long period, many years, where I was learning more and more, and I was really excited to learn more and try different things about photography. And ultimately, most of that, it's all there in the background, of course, now, things, some technical things, some, stylistic things without being a style, some things about looks. And it's all great. And it's like that old saying, you have to know the rules before you break them. But I found that, if I had just maintained that level of sort of freedom to experiment that I had when I first started with the photography, without being burdened by a lot of knowledge, I might have accelerated that. But having said that, I might have come out in less of a good place, because I think along the way I've picked up some of the formalities of photography, some of the technical and the craft formalities, possibly even some of the formality of composition as well.
And so I think this is really important to go through that.
Yeah, I think there's no shortcut, right? And neither should we look for one, because it's, I think it dilutes the experience, at the time and for the future if you look for shortcuts on these things.
It's like watching children create painting or whatnot. They do it with total freedom, you know? The freedom that my dog seems to be having at my back, whimpering about something. So, excuse me for one moment. Please carry on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So listeners and viewers, Gus Gus is an increasing part of our podcast, but in the last few weeks I've been editing some of this stuff out. So it's, but hey, maybe we'll leave this in this week.
I've turned down the volume. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, going through that, as you said, there's no shortcut. Going through the motions, getting to that point is, I think, something that is inevitable, that is important, because you want to hone your style. You want to try out a lot of things to figure out what feels right for you, well, to figure out what your style is. Yeah, your real style will show up in your archive. Probably in your throwaway shots, in between shots. Maybe even in your mistakes, the ones that you thought were mistakes. Maybe you're.
Tell me more, Chris, about this exercise, and if you've been going through, is there a particular way to approach it that you think is useful? Is it? I mean, I like to see like the big picture, right? So in my mind, I'd be wanting to scan over many images all at once and spot patterns, because I have a pattern spotting kind of a brain, right? I'm not a deep analyst. I spot patterns and I intuitively take decisions. That's kind of how my brain works.
I mean, for me, that emerged just kind of naturally, because in the past, when I was working on books, you go through your archive, you search for patterns, you try to find commonalities, and then with how I work on projects, on photo tours, on workshops, I have like very concise collections. I have a scheme of how I mark them that is relatively consistent. So for me, it's relatively easy to bring up certain aspects of pictures all together. But you can do this without being someone who takes notes on pictures, because the EXIF data in your pictures are there. So if you have something like Lightroom, you can sort by focal length. You can search for things in your Apple or Google Photos camera roll. You can search for colors. You can search for certain things. So, but in the beginning, I think it's relatively straightforward. Go over the last, 100 of your photos, and just look at them. Put them on a contact sheet on the screen, and just have a look and just try to find things. And again, this could be very simple things like, do I tend to take pictures of people where they are on the left side of the screen? That might stick out. Or do I give them space? Or do I crop into faces? Like, do I cut them partially off? Is that a thing I do? Or do I don't know, do I have a special fondness for weird Christmas trees? Or I don't know.
It's interesting in that, one's personal aesthetic evolves, changes, or roots and manifests. Either way. I used to like punchy, contrasty, saturated imagery. Mm-hmm. And I felt that over the years, I thought, oh, that's cool. But I now see it as kind of a crutch in a way. And I've started to consciously explore a different look, which I'm differentiating, but it also is evolving into a style in my photography where I'm going for a more washed out, desaturated, less contrasty look that is kind of on the more ordinary, but even ordinary times two. And we've talked about that on this podcast before where I've presented, images of like that are, boring, like, but have a fantastic attraction just because of, a chain link fence that's cut open, like nothing compositionally or stylistically or, production wise that are somehow provocative. They're just kind of bland, almost quote scientific pictures. And I'm realizing that there is a confidence of actually presenting an image like that doesn't require one to hide behind a style. So this is the next step of the conversation, which is, if you have a style that people recognize and love, does it become a crutch? Does it become a high fence over which you cannot jump without completely, apparently, changing the way people see you as a photographer, as an artist, etc.? And bounding over and going in the opposite direction reveals a lot about your confidence, how you feel, and who you are. And that I take what Chris had said about style being a manifestation of personality, of ego, id, etc., as something I never really thought about till now, and I'm quite inspired by that. Thank you, Chris.
I think you can go either way, right? So in the sense that, you just said, Jeremiah, that maybe understanding that, bounding away in a different direction that's unexpected. I think there's a couple of questions that raises for me. One is who you're doing this for, right? Another is actually, is there more than one way to pursue the journey? Because so for me, I've long said, and it probably took me some years to realize, but I've long said now that I do photography for me. I share very little of my photography because I do it for me. I don't do it for anybody else. I'm quite fortunate, I guess, that I'm not seeking external validation in that way, because I hear that's a painful thing, right?
I will give you what you need.
Thanks. But the other thing is that one of the things that I spotting or starting to understand an emerging style for me some years ago, that actually led me to double down, actually, and experiment and push further and take it further, and say, okay, there's something I can work with here. There's something that I find inspiring. So, I think it could go two ways, right? For me, it seemingly has led me to go deeper, to jump willingly down the rabbit hole, right, and see where it can take me. But I appreciate that, that's not the only way of doing things, of course.
And maybe that is another type of expression of your personality.
Sure.
Your photography has revealed that to your
maybe.
But I would say, and Chris, I'm sure you've had this similar experience. It's very, very different when you're working for a client. If it's commercial sensibility, they're buying you as a interpreter of a specific style. They want something very specific, and so the
and
ease
it depends
of
on the
which,
type of job. The client might be looking for something very specific, or they might be looking for you. And
you don't know, but that's a discussion you have along the way, both verbally and non-verbally, however that kind of moves. But in those kinds of experiences, you are trading image for money. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, that's
and so you're delivering,
probably.
and so how you approach style within that transaction is quite different than walking around and being inspired by the world and taking pictures spontaneously.
I think it changes it, doesn't it? Because if you're hired to deliver Blade Runner, but you deliver Mary Poppins, right? You're not going to be your client's not going to be very happy, are they?
I'll give you a small story. When I was, I've been a photographer for a very, very long time. I mean, non-commercial. I just always took pictures, since in my preteens, teens, etc. But when I became a commercial photographer, which I had an intense run and took a lot of pictures. And sometimes during sessions, I would take my own stuff, but I never really published it. I never really kind of moved out of the commercial realm. But when I started directing and I left commercial photography, I could not pick up a camera for 2 years. Because I identified holding my Hasselblad, which was my camera of choice, as a transaction, as something I was paid for. And I wanted to get rid of that feeling. I didn't take a picture for 2 years. Yes, on set, I would snap a few things, but I was focused away from that. It took that long to rediscover my love of photography outside of the commercial realm. And that really gave kind of purchase to a lot of stuff that I've continued to do now. So, yeah, it's an emotional thing.
All right.
I've had times in my life where I've had intense periods of work, and it's taken me time to decompress. Because you get so wrapped up in something, so focused on something, you step away from it, and the first thing you do is breathe a sigh of relief, and then think, okay, there's a period of, and I've learned to recognize it over the years as I go from thing to thing in my life, that actually I relish the period of decompression. I like the freedom it brings. I like to be, it's not like I like to walk away from stuff that's in flight, but I do like walking away from things, having a sense of, okay, my contribution to this has been made, right? It is now my time. I'm not leaving anybody too early, or any projects, that still need me. But I do.
It's glad that you decided to stay on the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, this podcast still needs me. This really, really does still need me. No, but this I do. This is a different thing. I do this because I just thoroughly enjoy hanging out with you two and amazing conversations we have. Right.
Vice versa.
But and next year, no, actually not quite next year, but it'd be yes, we've done 8 years of this podcast now. So it's a fantastic part of my life, right? So but in terms of more professional work, where I am in whatever capacity hired to deliver something, right? I love the day I get to walk away, and it's not because I want to. It's not because I always want to live for that day. I want to do the work, and I want to enjoy the work as well. But I can totally empathise, Jeremiah, with why you weren't able, or simply didn't want to pick up a camera for time after that. It
was just it was the emotional connection of having to work with somebody and the photography as the bridge. And I just felt it was a commercial instrument. Mm-hmm. And once I let that go and went back to how I feel, which, by the way, now I feel more like I felt when I was, 17, 18 as a photographer. Like, I feel completely liberated. Because I do have opportunities to present the work in however I do. The work can go out as a museum exhibition, as a gallery exhibition, as a book, on my website, in Instagram. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get the work out and get feedback, sometimes writ large, sometimes small, but there's an interaction with the universe about the photography that really is... it's gratifying in that it reminds me that I'm still alive in this world.
Wow. Great words. Let's leave it at that for now. Style it's such a huge topic, and that was
I love it.
One aspect of it, and I
learned a lot today.
I'm glad I could discuss this with you. Maybe it's food for thought for anyone who's listening.
Yeah, that style is not a visual application of math.
Not necessarily.
Style is a psychological application of point of view.
Right. All right. Let's go to the picks of the week. Let's start with Adrian today. You brought us a book.
A book. I'm quite excited about this. I have pre-ordered this book. It doesn't come out until after the holiday period, but I just pre-ordered it. So this combines two of the loves of my life, motor racing and photography. It's a book by a fella called Jamie Price, who's a motorsport photographer, professional photographer, and a few years back he came across some NASCAR branded, plastic point and shoot film cameras. They weren't quite disposable. They were reloadable, but probably only get 3 or 4 rolls out of them before they break, apparently. And he just carried this camera around along with his tens of thousands of dollars of long lenses and stuff that you need for and fast cameras that you need for motorsport photography. But he carried around these cameras with film in them for a year or more through 2024 and through this year, to NASCAR, to Formula One, to Le Mans, to Pebble Beach, Concours d'Elegance, all sorts of things, right? And captured some of the world famous people at the time. Right, there's photos of Lando Norris, who's currently competing right up there for this year's Formula One driver championship
today and tomorrow.
This week, as we record this is the final weekend, and for the first time in years, I think there's one of 3 drivers that could potentially win.
That's right.
So this is very contemporary as well. But I'm really excited for this book. Like I say, it combines 2 things I really love. So gritty point and shoot film shots of motor racing. I'm right in there for that.
That sounds lovely. The pictures look lovely on the website.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a $10,000 camera to take great photos. Access is what this is about, and something that again, this creates a style. This is the tool that kind of helps create the style a bit.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right. I brought us something that is completely nothing to do with this. It's a nerdy kind of subject. Has any one of you ever used a mouse? An optical mouse?
Sadly, yes.
I mean, we're all of an age where we remember mouse that had mouse balls, and now we have optical mice. Does any one of you know how an optical mouse works?
No.
It has a little camera in it. It has a little camera in it that looks down onto the mouse pad. And these cameras typically output just motion data. Like the mouse, you move the mouse and it tells the computer up, down, left, right. But it is in fact a camera that does that, and some processing on board. And there's this guy who
he hacked
it and turned it into a 30 by 30 pixel camera. So
nice.
He built a little contraption, a little case. And he has a 30 by 30 pixel black and white camera built from an optical mouse that he reverse engineered and hacked. And it's just such an amazing little project. And it's worse than a Game Boy camera in terms of resolution.
Which could mean it's better.
And it could mean it's better, yeah.
For style.
This looks like a ton of fun to play with.
Does he have a way of doing it?
Of doing what?
Of building one. His recipe.
I don't think there's a build it yourself website there, but he's on Reddit. You can talk to him. You can connect with him. We're going to put the link in the show notes. This was just one of these. Oh my God, this is so creative.
Yeah,
he reverse engineered the whole camera system, and
that's fantastic.
That's so wild.
Good. So good.
That is wild. All right,
you can do a lot with 900 pixels.
Yeah, 900 pixels is by 30 by 30. That's just nothing, right? But it is something. And it's awesome.
An aesthetic. It is.
It is. And speaking of aesthetic, Jeremiah Chechik, there's a website that has your pictures on it. Tell us about it.
I thought, those of us who have traveled far north and have listened to the podcast know that I spent some time in Greenland and crossing the Northwest Passage. And, I shoot DNG, and so they're digital negatives. And I finally got them to, I processed them, I printed them. They're actually beautiful prints, and I thought I'd put some up on the website, and here they are.
So you took the pictures that you shot based on your style, and then you stylized them.
I didn't stylize them intensely.
really?
I just tried to bring out the feeling of what it was like when I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you did an excellent job. I
The
love
presence
this.
of it, the light.
The light is amazing. I know you said that when you came back from this trip, and some of these photos, I think, you've really done a great job of capturing that light.
What do you mean some?
Some
Anything
not all of
you
the
say
not all
will
of the
be used
photographs
against you.
not all the photographs are of the light, are they? Some of them are taken on cloudy days, right? Where the light
That's
is.
the light. That's soft light. It's beautiful.
Yeah, okay.
So,
All right.
there you go.
Yeah.
But these are not. These are what I saw, and
Yeah.
Take it
Young
by.
budding photographer with a plastic camera.
basically, yeah,
Basically, right.
a Q3, but
Yeah. There
I'm
is
sure there's some plastic in
there
it
for sure.
somewhere.
somewhere, yeah.
All
But
right.
anyway, there you go.
Thanks for sharing. All the links are in our show notes. We'll be back soon with more. Until then, everyone, take care and bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Future of Photography. Join the discussion on our Discord, find the show notes and all episodes at thefutureofphotography.com, and subscribe wherever you listen to audio.